Welcome to the SUBOHM Scoop. How's it going, Sarah? How are you doing today?
Doing well.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I want to thank you for being on the show. I know that your story will help to inspire others to give vaping a try. And I like to start off every show with just what are you vaping on right now? What juices, mods, etc.
All right. So in my hand is Geek Vape, Athena, Mac, Squonk Mod. I find that these are handy to have. You don't have to drip. They're handy to have. The juice I'm using is a 6-nick Hype City Vapers out of California. Steep, it's 80/20. Really good juice. And then the one I'm using is apple pie. It tastes just like apple pie.
So everyone has a story of how they were introduced to vaping. How were you introduced to vaping?
I live in a military town in coastal North Carolina, and vaping pretty much boomed overnight here. I had a friend named Cassie that was vaping unregulated box mods, and I was a smoker at the time, a pack a day, and I asked Cassie if she could introduce me into vaping, show me how it works, what do I have to do, how does this work? And she did, and she gave me a tube mod, tugboat, Tiffany Blue to start vaping with. And I did start vaping in 2015 with that device. I've probably had 30 different devices since then. But Cassie is the one that got me off cigarettes and into vaping. She has since passed away from an inadvertent drug overdose. But nonetheless, I still vape, and I still value her knowledge and her teaching me what would eventually get me off cigarettes and into vaping.
And that's a good way to honor her, is by, expressing, what she showed you, and just keep telling more people. And it's a good way to keep her alive always, and especially in your heart, and then, with her knowledge being passed on to others. Now, smoking is never an easy addiction to overcome. We've all went through the transition, and it's never easy. What would you say was the hardest thing for you to overcome when you was making the switch from smoking to vape?
The routine. Routinely for me, first thing I would do when I wake up in the morning was go smoke a cigarette outside. So while I drank my Monster coffee or whatever caffeine I needed of the day. So what I did was I took my mod with me, and I would still keep the routine of going out to my garage or my front porch and do this, what I would do as if I was a smoker, but I had a vape in my hand. And I did that for about a week, and then I noticed that I didn't need to go outside anymore, that I was okay just sitting on my sofa and drinking my coffee and vaping. And to me, the hardest part with the transition from smoking to vaping is the routine and the nic level of the nic juice. When you're a pack-a-day smoker of a menthol, that throat hit you get from that menthol cigarette is, when you pick up a vape, you're like, that's not the same, and it isn't the same, and it never will be the same. I would much rather a throat hit from an apple pie flavored juice than I would from a cigarette, even to this day. But I believe that the hardest part for anyone transitioning is routine. Keep up the routine that you would do if you were smoking, but just have your vape in your hand.
Yeah, see, I smoked in my house, and that, the first thing I would do when I woke up in the morning, I'd reach over, grab my cigarettes, light a cigarette in the bed before I even get out the bed. And I had to keep my mod right there next to the bed. So the first thing I did, it just same routine, reach over, grab it, and take a couple hits off the vape, and just like, oh, come on, because, the nicotine strength, when I started out, I was using a 36. I mean, that was high.
Wow.
But, I was on an ego pen, so it was, it was garbage.
Right.
But it was hard. That was the hardest thing, though. Like you said, it's just keeping the routine, you're just so used to, right when you wake up, going, that routine was just so hard to get into, to transition from. But, it only took a few days, and it was like, then it just became a whole new routine.
Yeah.
Now, everybody has that moment when you realize I am no longer a smoker.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel at that moment?
Like, I would say $1 million. I don't know. When it was, I smelled another smoke. I smelled what secondhand smoke on their clothes, their hair, the smell that they had. They didn't know. You don't know what you smell like as a smoker. But when you're a non-smoker and you get a whiff of that as a vapor, and you know that I'm vaping now, and that's what I used to smell like, wow.
Yeah.
Again, let me grab this, because that's how I felt. I felt like, wow, that honestly, it stinks. I'm not gonna lie, it stinks. And I would much rather smell like fruit and berries, and my perfume lasts all day long on my body than cigarette smoke. And that's what I realized. And I smelled another person, and it actually made me somewhat nauseous.
It's sad, but I've been vaping for 5 years. My wife still smokes. She's one of the people that she don't like it. She says it all tastes like pixie sticks, and it's just candy. She just doesn't like it. But I walk into the house, and she don't smoke in the house. She smokes in the garage. But like, I pull up in the house, and I walk into the garage, and just that smell, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. I used to smell like this. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, man. Like, why? Why did I allow this to happen? But, you don't know it. You don't know that you smell like that, because you're just so used to smelling cigarettes, because, you're putting it in your mouth every time you take a drag. So you don't realize that smell is there. And then when you quit, you smell it. It's like, oh my God, that's terrible.
I'm from Southern Virginia originally, and I smelled the rain. It wasn't raining outside yet, but I could smell the rain coming. I told my daughter, I said, it's going to rain. And she's like, why? I was like, take a whiff. And she's like, I don't know what I'm smelling. I'm like, that's rain. And I could smell that for the first time, probably since my childhood, that I could smell that. And that to me, that was nostalgic, because that's something my grandparents had taught me, that's what it means when, it's going to rain, and smelling that element outdoors for the first time in probably 3 decades, was a very humbling experience. Because of vaping, I was able to do that.
There's been several times that I've caught a whiff of something like, wow, what is that? And I'm standing downwind to some flowers or something, and before you would have never even noticed it. And then it's like, wow, I can smell that now. And you're like looking over there, and they're like 100 yards away, and it's like, wow, I could smell that all the way over there. That's like so just amazing. Like, I can't believe I went that whole big period of time in my life when I was smoking that I couldn't smell these things, and I couldn't taste things. There's stuff that I used to eat that when I smoked I didn't like. I can't stand that, or vice versa, that I liked it now. Then I'm like, dude, this does not taste good, or it tastes really, really good. It's like, I can't believe I was missing out on some of these things when I was a smoker. Like, you just think about some of the physical health things that we endure as smokers, but just little minute things that you wouldn't even think about, that you are missing out when you smoke cigarettes. That is just it's just so amazing that you can be able to smell and taste these things now that you couldn't before. Now, vaping not only saves us, like I was saying, from all the physical ailments, but it also changes our lives in other aspects, other things. And I know earlier when we were just talking a little bit before we started recording, you talked a little bit about mental health. How has vaping, changed you as a person, just your overall life?
Well, I like to say that when I started vaping, I started out in the boys club with the tube mods and the unregulated mods, which it did not deter me. So with that mindset, I do not have a problem talking to anyone about the benefits of vaping versus smoking. I have personally been able to get my mother, my cousin, a dear friend of mine named Scott, off cigarettes onto vaping devices. And these were vaping devices that I had in my house that I set up and I mailed to them. And I said, this is what you do. And if you have any questions, you go to this vape shop. And I gave them the address in Virginia that I knew it was a legit before the FDA stuck their hand in vaping. But for me, I think that vaping has given me courage. It's given me courage to be able to speak up and speak out for not only the benefits of vaping health-wise, but it also has given me more courage to speak up about mental health awareness and mental health advocacy for myself and for others who may not feel they have the courage yet to speak up for themselves.
That's amazing. I think a lot of people don't look at, the mental benefits of vaping because, we all think about the physical stuff, but we sometimes don't think about the mental stuff that we endure. A lot of people have, they're sitting there, they're smoking cigarettes, they already think that they're killing themselves, they're going through all these, bad things in their life, and smoking has a lot to do with it because it eliminates so many opportunities because people they smell you, oh yeah, they're a smoker, they're going to want to take smoke breaks, we don't want to hire them, type of stuff like that. And vaping gives you that courage, that ability to, get out there and say, hey, I'm a person, and, you start speaking up for vape advocacy and start talking to more people about vaping, then you build up courage to go in there and say, no, I want this job. I'm not going to take no for an answer. I want this opportunity, and it just the opportunity that opens the doors just from vaping because, all the people that I've met over the last 5 years of my vape experience, I've met so many wonderful people. I'm a part owner of a company now, not a huge company, but a media company because of vaping. If it wasn't for vaping, I would have never met Scott and James, and they would have never told me about, about the stuff that they were doing, and then I wouldn't have been able to get involved in that. I wouldn't have had the courage to even talk to them if it wasn't for vaping. So yeah, I can see the mental aspect. Your mental does change a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And just think about, people there, there's, like I said, they're sitting there smoking cigarettes. They already feel like they're killing themselves. So, hey, why waste the time? And now let's take this razor, and vaping has changed that for them. They're like, I'm not killing myself no more. So why would I want to think about suicide or things like that? I could see vaping doing a lot of other changes that, we might not think about every day, just talking about vaping to people, but there's a lot of other changes and opportunities that vaping, can open doors for you, and just mentally and emotionally and physically and everything. So, yeah, vaping, I ain't never looked at it. I'm glad that you brought that up because I haven't ever looked at it like that before.
I think the best term that you could use is vaping is the gateway to networking. So vaping is once you become a vapor, you're they say the gateway. It's a gateway to networking, and it's not so much networking like you have your production company. I have mental health networking. It's really and you're absolutely right. I have not met one bad person along my journey from beginning my first vaping to today and doing this interview with you. Everyone that I've come across is a generally good-hearted person, and in today's world, that's hard to find. And yes. I think that as we allow ourselves to network with whatever we feel that we need to network with vaping, it restores our faith in humanity, that there are still good people out there that still believe that, there is a possibility in restoring faith in humanity.
Which I know that, vaping ain't perfect. By no means. There's nothing in this world that's perfect. There's no, industry person or, product, anything that's perfect. Is there anything that you can see within the vape industry that you wish that you had the ability to change?
The stigma that vaping is bad. Vaping is bad. Okay, and smoking isn't. So if you're gonna, that is for the people who aren't educated on what science is behind vaping. Now, you and I both know there is not a lot of science behind vaping as there is cigarettes, because vaping hasn't been around as long as tobacco cigarettes have been. But I just recently, this maybe day before yesterday, I follow Vape News, which is a great a great organization to follow for up-to-date, any kind of regulations, changes, advocacy that we as vapers need to do against Big Pharma, said that Philip Morris was backing a vaping science project, if you will. I'll send you the link about it. But Philip Morris, Big Pharma, Philip Morris, based out of Richmond, Virginia, I know exactly where that plant is, was backing the showing the science benefits of vaping over cigarettes.
I think I read the article because then in that article they talk about the $12 million that they just put on backing of the vape. One of the vaping bills that they put $12 million in the lobbyists and stuff to back vaping. I read an article, it was a few months ago, but American British Tobacco, the CEO of American British Tobacco, said that they put $1 billion back for research on vaping and to come out, because basically they say we've been killing people for years and years and years, and now this new technology is out and it's way better, so we want to start getting involved in creating that, because this is one thing that people don't understand about big tobacco. Yeah, they've been killing people forever, but we have this this utensil now that is helping so many people, and they're starting to realize that. They're like, okay, we're not going to get rid of vaping, and it's so much better, and they still gonna make money off the nicotine.
Right.
They're why not get on board on doing something that's going to be better, which can go both ways. It's great for vaping. It really is. It's great for vaping. The bad part is when big tobacco is now getting involved in vaping. Now the media is, big tobaccos, we always said they was part of vaping, and they weren't. For the longest time they were our biggest enemies. And now, that they're trying to get involved because they see the benefits of it. Now, media's like, we told you it's all big tobacco. It's all big tobacco. Like, no, it's not. But that's the propaganda that comes behind, and that's why people like us have to keep on fighting for to let people be aware that they weren't a part of it, but they see the benefits of it, and now that's why they're getting involved, because they say, hey, why can't I? It's basic science. They can make money off of killing people for 30 years, or they can make money off of saving people for 60 years.
Mm-hmm. So I for the last, I'm going to say 2 decades, get cigarette coupons in the mail from Marlboro, Benson Hedges, snuff coupons. I don't know how, somewhere along the line I got added to some coupon. So in the mail, I get this. Maybe you can see it, but it's an online buy this a Mark 10 e-vape for a battery and 2 pot packs. An online special. So instead of sending me cigarette coupons, they're sending me these. I don't need this. I don't need this specific device. I have devices already at this point, but I find that hopefully people who are still on that mailing list for cigarettes maybe do get this in the mail and go, wow, for $20 I could get this deal. I think I'm going to do it. And that might introduce them into getting off cigarettes and into vaping, because I think inevitably it doesn't really matter which device you start with. Bottom line is getting off cigarettes, because the same device that you and I started with isn't what we're vaping with to this day.
No, I mean, because if I had to, I don't know if I'd have made it having to use an ego device for 5 years.
Right.
But I think I'd have quit doing everything before that, because egos was terrible. Them things,
right?
Yeah, they was terrible. So, if you had one piece of advice that you could give somebody that was thinking about making the switch from smoking to vaping, what would that advice be?
Try it. What do you have to lose by trying? Find a friend or an acquaintance or someone that you met, a neighbor that vapes, and just say, hey, can you, tell me how this works, or what is vaping all about? That would be my one advice to the person that's sitting there on the fence is what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose by at least trying it?
That's a good piece of advice right there, because, a lot of people, that they just question everything. They question, oh, is vaping healthy? Just try it. You'll see the difference, and me and you both know that your whole life is going to change once you start vaping. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can smell, I can taste, I can run, I can do things that I just could not do before. And I'll tell you one thing, keeping up with kids, oh my God, my kids used to run me ragged. Now I'm like, come on, let's go. What do you mean you want to take a break? Yeah, I ain't taking a break. I'm 40, you're 10. Let's go. Let's jump some more. Let's run some more. Let's play some more. And, they're like, damn, what happened to my dad? You was a guy that'd be like, hold up after like 2 minutes, like, hold up, I got to smoke a cigarette. That's one of the things that is the funniest thing that I see people do all the time. Because there's guys that I work with, and they still smoking, they'll carry something in and hold on, I gotta smoke a cigarette right quick. Like, that's not gonna help you breathe. What are you thinking about? That's not gonna help you. Well, Sarah, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story. I know that it will help inspire people, and that's the story. It's so inspiring, your story and everybody's story that comes on the show. And, I hope that, in the future that, we can touch base again and do another episode so I can let everybody know how your journey is progressing in vaping. And I will put a link in the description to everything that we talked about today, and all your links and stuff so people can get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you. And I think that's all we have today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, peace, guys. You have a wonderful week. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to be a guest on the show, just message me on one of my social media links in the description or leave a comment below. And remember, vaping saved your life, so help vaping save more lives. Spread the truth and be a voice for vaping.